Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be me, 14. Innawoods to get away from bullshit. Find an old tobacco barn to stay in overnight. Get fire going, sleeping kit set up. Sun starts going down, secure the 2 doors as best I can. Settle down, bank fire, fall asleep. Wake up a few hours later to the sound of scrabbling across the roof. Figure it's an animal, so get up and get fire going again. Fire slowly starts building, scrabbling stops. Voices start. Sounds like 3 tinny voices whispering to each other. Start to get creeped out. Check to make sure the doors are still secure. Add a few more things in front of them. Bricks, loose timbers. Voices continue for a little bit, then stop. Scrabbling starts back up, breaking off in 3 directions. Pull out a pocket knife. Sit back in the most secure corner after adding some more fuel to fire. Every now and then something gets thrown at the side of the barn. Sounds like rocks or large pieces of wood. Eventually the sun starts slowly coming up, throwing slows, then stops. Wait about 4 hours after the sun comes up. Pack up stuff, make sure the fire is out, then slip out as quietly as possible. Hear movement in trees a few dozen meters behind me the whole way home. Get in and promptly pass out. Tell neighbors up the road a few days later about it. Their response, "Oh yeah, sounds like the wood elves." Lucky that's all they did. Just one story of the weird thing that happened in that area might tell more if people are interested. Been on call for the last few days. Sorry for the delay. Be me, 15, winter. Brother from another mother and I decided to go camping for a break from our families. Forecast is calling for snow, so we pack accordingly and plan for a 3-day weekend, since if it does snow, everything, including school, will be closed. Set out into the woods, decide to camp close to the tobacco barn I found the year before, in case the snow gets too thick for a tent. Set the tent up to where the opening is facing one of the doors, almost touching it, with the fire inside of the little fire pit I'd used the last time I was here. About an hour after we got there, the snow started, gently and slowly at first. Then those big flakes started falling fast. Doesn't bother us. We love this kind of weather. But we do make sure to grab a metric ton of wood and bark just in case it starts coming down real bad, and we have to hunker down in the barn. Night comes quickly, with the snow still falling heavily. We're seated around the fire, passing a bottle of Jack Daniels that we swiped from his older cousin while we wait for the beans and weenies we're cooking to finish. Every now and then we hear branches crack or pop like they've been stepped on, but we figure it's just the snow breaking fragile branches off the trees. Eventually food is done. We scarf it down and proceed to go back to our borrowed bottle, taking small shots to make it last longer. Bro gets tired after a while, says he's going to go to bed. I stay up by the fire for about another hour or so, then bank it for the morning before climbing into the tent. Sleep comes for me soon. Bro wakes me up at some point in the night with a finger held to his lips. Does the listen motion. We can hear 2 tinny voices whispering very quickly to one another. Bro yells something about how we have guns and aren't afraid to use them. The voices stop and we hear movement moving away from us. We hop out of the tent, flashlights in hand, looking around the inside of the barn. See some of the food cans moved around. The pot lid is laying on the ground, and the cooking pot is moving slowly like something just let it go in a hurry. See little footprints in the dirt of the barn leading in from the other barn door and running out of it. We look at each other and I say that I told him so. I told him about the barn before, he just never believed me about it. He calls bull, figures I had someone waiting to scare with him. We argue for a little while, then end up going back to sleep after securing the 1 barn door closed as well as we could. Next day, snow is still coming down hard. It's a little over 2 feet deep at this point. Decide to move the tent inside of the barn, so spend a little while setting it up inside. Entire time we hear branches snapping around us. We still think it's the snow though. Bro decides to take a walk to see if he can find footprints or a camp so he can prove I'm screwing with him. Once again, I try to tell him I'm not, but he doesn't listen. Goes off on his own. I shrug and say screw it and keep the fire going while sipping on a Dr. Pepper. Comes back about 2 hours later. Confused look on his face. Admits that he didn't find either footprints or a camp, but he still thinks I'm messing with him. roll my eyes and choose to ignore it. Night comes. The snow is still falling. Chicken noodle soup with wood-fired grilled cheese. It was tasty on a snowy day. Same as the night before. Shots of Jack. Then Bro crawls into the tent to sleep. About an hour later, start hearing scrabbling across the roof with the occasional tinny whisper. Bro slowly sticks his head out, sees me looking at the roof, and I guess puts two and two together that yes, I was telling him the truth. He gets out, grabs his flashlight, and hightails it out of the barn's back door, flashing the light up to the roof. Bro starts losing it, saying he saw something before it ran off. I went out with my light, but from the sound of it, whatever it was, made it to the other side of the roof and booked it. Ask Bro what he saw. He described something like a tiny humanoid made out of what looked like bark. Go back inside the barn, secure the back door, and stay up around the fire for a while before we both succumb to sleep. Next morning, snow was still falling. It's about 3.5 feet deep now. Snow is still falling, but not nearly as heavy nor as fast. Bro decides he's going to sleep all day so he can stay up all night to keep watch for whatever he sees, leaving me to hold down the fort during the day. End up cooking some more grilled cheese, chowing down while watching the snow fall. See movement out of the corner of my left eye up in a nearby tree. Try to get a better look, but when I turn to do so, I don't see anything, so I chalk it up to me being tired. Eventually night falls and Bro wakes up. At this point, I'm tired. My eyes are barely staying open and I'm actively fighting falling asleep. Bro says he has it, and pretty much forces me to go to sleep. As soon as I hit my sleeping bag, I'm out cold. Wake up, look at the watch. It's been at least 5 hours. Poke head out of the tent because I notice the fire is almost completely out. See Bro is nowhere to be found. Toss some wood on the fire to get it going again, then look around to see if maybe he fell asleep in a corner or something. Notice the back door is ajar. Walk up and peek out. See a pair of footprints leading away from the barn and into the woods. Can hear lots of cracking branches moving my way. Reach over and grab my light. Turn it on. Aim it out into the woods towards the noise. It's my Bro, and he looks hurt. Run out to help him, make it to him, and notice he's absolutely drenched in water and is shivering. Grab him and drag him towards the barn. He's muttering through chattering teeth. Get him inside by the fire, toss more wood on it to get it hotter, and start working to get him out of the wet clothes. Whole time he's still just muttering while shivering. Eventually get him stripped with a few blankets wrapped around him, and start warming him up. He eventually warms enough to talk without muttering, so I ask him what happened. He says that not long after sundown he started hearing the scrabbling across the roof, so he ran out and saw 3 of the things on the roof and yelled at them. They took off into the trees away from us, and he started giving chase. He said he followed them by the sound of their tinny little voices for a while, until he lost them. Said he was wondering where exactly he was until he heard a laugh from not too far off from him, and he took off towards it. Ended up falling directly into one of the ponds that dot the land, and he said while he was trying to get out, he kept hearing loads of that tinny laughter from all around. Said once he got out, he started to backtrack as best he could using the trail he left, but said he lost it not long after and just kept wandering once the cold really set in and started affecting his mental processes. Ended up staying up all night getting him warmed up, and the next morning pack up and start making our way out of the woods. Had to end up stopping at the neighbor's house before we could make it to my place, since Bro started getting really sick. They ask what happened, and I explain it to them. They get this look on their faces as they look between each other. Say the elves killed one of their friends like that when they were growing up because the kid would never leave them alone. Call my Bro's parents to come pick him up. Explain that he slipped and fell into a creek on the way back as a cover story. End up staying a day at the neighbor's for the weather to clear a little more, then head home.
The woods are scary brothers. Go deep in a woods at 2 to 3 a.m. with a buddy. Park in a big clear-cut field. LARPing hard, full autism woods mission. Lots of nice clear open space to watch over buddy while he dons kit. Very quiet, no insect or animal noises, birds etc., so already a little spooky. Completely clear sky, bright full moon. Poor, so no nods, just white light, but mostly don't need them on a bright night like this. Do a quick shine of the field. Some deer out there, Yellow beamers, standing there looking dumb. Trade off places with buddy to don my kit. Friend is keeping watch and telling me this story about when he was a kid about the ghost bear. Have a laugh, little ghost bear. Eventually get out on our trek. Bounding through woods and taking short runs up the trails to avoid tracking. Hear a big train of hicks come along. Go to the ground and watch them pass. Didn't notice two guys in full kit with rifles hiding just a few feet off the trail. More hearty laughs. Full trip is about 10 miles. Very quiet night, no birds or insects. Hear some coyotes in the distance but little else. As we break out into the open across the field, we hear bear noises very clearly. Sounds like a big thing too. Spread out further and keep walking into the field. It knows we're there and makes threatening calls. Lights go on for both of us, he's in between us and our vehicle. Searching but can't see or find anything, but he sounds close. Maybe 10 meters in front of us. Can't find it in completely flat and open ground. Not a hump or eyes or anything. Can't hear it moving. Heart starts racing. Literally within seconds fogs start forming over the field. Thick fog in big plumes. It's swirling around us like something out of a movie, like someone turned on a fog machine and fans. Lights can't penetrate it and we're suddenly blind and in a field with a bear we can't find. I initiated a covered retreat back to the tree line we came from, which we probably should have done in the first place. I start yelling to scare it off or at least make it move so I can hear it. Buddy beelines, freezes and calls for me to move. We move like this all the way back to the tree line. Fog is only holding on the field. Looking back at where we just bounded away from and it's an impenetrable swirling mass. Find our way along the tree line, guns trained on field. Get the vehicle. Fog is blowing towards us and over the vehicle. It's swirling around it for a while and we're standing there almost in a dream state. Surreal feeling. Fog blows away as quickly as it comes and it exits right over top of us. No bear noises, nothing. Shine the field one more time and no eyes or bears in sight. Nope, out. Ghost Bear Brothers, watch what you say out there, someone is listening. We probably were within our right to mag dump at it, but we didn't want to kill a bear bro if that's what it was.
You guys misunderstand. You are not out in the woods hunting skinwalkers and wendigos, as those creatures have already infiltrated modern society. We know them as game wardens, can randomly appear in the most remote of fishing and hunting areas. They are known to place fake animal traps to scare away hunters from certain areas. One of their games is using random animal calls to scare people away from trails. They force people to wear bright neon orange clothing during hunting season and will take away everything from those that refuse to do so. They cannot enter native reservations. No one wants to accept this, but the reality is that fishing and hunting licenses were merely a ploy to give the skinwalkers powers to control mankind. Much like the pagan hunting rituals of Europe, which bring peace to the forest spirits, we are on a fine balancing act with the skinwalkers by letting them be game wardens.
When I was about 17, maybe 16 at the time, we found an ape suit in my friend's parents' garage. It was from a costume party or something. His dad did apartment maintenance, so he probably got it out of an abandoned apartment. We had a video camera that we would use to film jackass-style activity using one of our younger siblings' power wheels, usually taking the motor out and riding them at full speed down steep hills while they slowly disintegrated beneath us. We decided to take the camera and ape suit out at night to see if we can get some good reactions. There's a highway nearby, decently trafficked, but usually about 10 cars an hour at night. My friend's little brother puts on the ape suit and we hide in the bushes. When a car is coming, he slowly walks across the street and turns and stares into the headlights before continuing to walk to the other side. A few cars slow way down as they come up to where he crossed. We all laughed because we were easily entertained. We're all standing near the side of the road, trying to see what we got on the tiny camcorder screen. Nothing, by the way, it's dark, all you can see are a couple headlights. A motorcycle is coming. We do the bit. The motorcyclist speeds up to like 120 to GTFO as fast as possible. Laugh. We did it to a few more cars and then we saw a big truck coming from the other direction. We dart into the woods with the exception of a friend's little brother in the ape suit and one other. The one other starts running down the side of the road, and ape suit tackles him as the truck drives by. Truck slams on brakes. They book it into the woods, we peel back deeper into the woods. The truck is out with a flashlight, 2 people, one saying they saw something earlier in the night and then him commenting on what they just saw, as though maybe someone just got attacked by a bear. We went back to my friend's house. After about 15 minutes our 2 friends emerged from the woods nearby. They had been hiding under a fallen tree. We regrouped in a friend's garage. Find out the guy was talking about coming back with a gun. Decide we're probably done for the night. Next week we're headed to school, 2 of us in the back of a friend's truck. Some guy is parked in a university truck nearby a dry creek bed. We stop and ask what he's doing. He says he's from the local university out to take footprints due to a Bigfoot sighting nearby. We didn't say anything, but we're pretty stoked we had caused it.
One night in early summer, I believe, a guy named Kevin came back to my girlfriend at the time, little brother's house. He started to tell us he had seen a 4-foot-tall owl leaving his house last night. I grew up in this very area, in Indiana, when I was younger. And at first, I thought he was telling us some cheesy joke or story. When he didn't laugh, we knew he was serious. That's when we started to laugh at him. He claimed this happened to him right across the street, and about halfway through the woods. I completely thought he was making this up, wasn't sure why he would though. I personally thought he was lying. I then asked him if this happened across the street, then take me to where you saw it then. I'm glad I had him show me. At the time I really thought he was double downing on his lie. I wasn't expecting anyone else to follow us, but everyone who came with me was there. When he brought us to the spot I looked carefully, being the outdoorsman I was. Nothing, no scratches on the ground, no blood, no fur. He also added he thought it was eating something because as he cut through he thought someone was sitting hunched over in the dark. He then added that he said, "Who's there?" It lifted up over his head carrying something he thought. He said it then screeched at him, and that was all. We laughed and made fun of him for the next few years even. He got it bad. We thought he was lying and we all figured if you're going to lie, you're going to have to deal with us making fun of you for catching you in that lie. Kevin never brought it up again or even tried to defend himself. I looked right at him and asked, "Why to pick an owl?" He was a little confused by this question. And just said, "What do you mean?" Then I said, "Why pick an owl? Owls aren't even scary." Then in the early spring of 2007, my friend Josh, who lived a few streets over from where this Kevin guy was, saw this 4-foot-tall owl. I completely forgot he told us about it unless we would see him for a laugh. I thought he was just making it up. Josh and I cut through the same woods he saw it in, but from the other way. We could see all the way through from the street. His woods are long, but maybe only 100 yards wide. As we get to about halfway, we both hear something running on the leaves in our direction fast. I'm a little bit taller than Josh. I was able to turn around and took a few steps jumping and pulling myself up. Josh was running out of time, and I told him to jump and grab my hand. There was a mean pit bull dog that the owners would sometimes let loose at night to roam. At the last second Josh jumped on a little sapling tree and climbed it like a rope. About 2 weeks later we would be doing the same thing again, only when we heard the leaves moving on the ground it was a large raccoon instead. I started to walk again, towards Dennis's house, and then I heard a wooden diving board noise. When I heard this, I just stopped in my tracks and started to scan looking for the source of the noise. Eventually, I'd turn around and start to look behind us, and that's when I noticed the very large branch, still whipping up and down. Now even more confused, I'm looking for what came out of this large branch, not seeing anything. Most if not all my focus was on the ground near the base of the large oak tree. The way the limb was moving, something very large would have jumped out. The only thing that didn't make sense was, I'm looking at nothing on the ground. I turned back to Josh and said, "Bobcat," only to have him roll his eyes at me. I wouldn't have believed it either, except to me it was the only thing that would have weighed enough to shake the branch like that but never make a sound, possibly when it hit the ground. So I'm literally waiting for a big cat to show itself and pounce. After another full minute, nothing happened and I'm even more confused and started to walk toward Dennis's house. I take a few more steps, still looking around but facing forward back at his house. I started to catch movement out of the top corner of my eye, and what I explained next, I would have never thought in a million years I'd be telling or saying. It was just a black mass or a black ball shape, darker than the night sky around it. When I see this I freeze because I'm just not sure what I'm looking at. It's still above the treetops, halfway through the woods, probably putting it in the 100 feet range up, just right above the tips of the tree. I was first and Josh was still somewhere behind me. I stayed focused on the dark movement and didn't want to lose view of what it was.
Sure, I got one. Not from me, but a buddy of mine during basic B-Buddy training at Fort Hood. Now Fort Cavazos, I guess. Be on final basic training field exercise. Field camp is a big clearing out in the way of sticks on the base. 2 a.m. pulling guard duty. Literally just lying prone in the grass with a rifle trying not to fall asleep so drills don't get pissed. Listening to night noises, critters in the woods, crickets, wind, etc. Buddy is a rock-munching Tennessee boy from the hills. He knows all about the woods, enough to know an unnatural silence falling all around. Suddenly start hearing distant hoots and hollers. Guard duty trainees start whispering WTF. A few token call-outs must be the drills messing with us. Prepare for the smoke. But the drills are coming out of their tent like WTF as the whooping shouts get louder and the wind picks up. Massive crashing from the woods coming right for Buddy. He watches as the woods in front of him explode with noise as if a mass of animals is stampeded through. Everything suddenly stops, still and silent. The entire company of trainees collectively and tactically shit themselves and almost panic. Drills shout everyone down, take charge and get everyone to pack their stuff, take down the tents and equipment, get the garbage, and get it in the trucks now. Now, we are leaving. They call for transport to pick everyone up, despite normally rucking all the way back about 20 miles. Field exercise canceled a day early. Everyone passes. Drills never answer questions about it and smoke anyone who asks. Buddy is basically a Sasquatch in stature and stoic temperament that loves anything to do with being in the wilderness. He said he never believed in ghosts or was spooked by anything out in the woods. But he said something about it was downright unnatural and scared him pale. Fort Sill has blood in its history with the Native Americans. Geronimo died there, and on his deathbed he said he never should have surrendered.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.